Hello there, and welcome back to a place where ancient mysteries meet cutting-edge curiosity, where we take the long view on questions that have puzzled humanity for thousands of years. Tonight, we're not just looking at one of the most iconic structures on Earth. We're asking something that might completely change how you see the past itself. Picture this. You're standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid of Giza, feeling the weight of 2.3 million limestone blocks towering above you. Each block weighs as much as a small car. The precision is impossible to ignore. The base is level to within just 2.1 centimeters. The orientation aligns perfectly with true north. And after all these centuries, we're still told the same story. Tombs for pharaohs, monuments to ego, burial chambers for the dead. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if these weren't tombs at all, but something far more extraordinary? What if the pyramids were the power plants of an ancient civilization so advanced that we're only now beginning to understand what they actually built? I'm here to take you on a journey that will challenge everything you think you know about our ancestors. And I have to warn you, once you see what we're about to explore together, you'll never look at these structures the same way again. Because the evidence we're going to examine suggests something remarkable, something that makes our modern power grids look primitive by comparison. Now, before we dive deep into this rabbit hole, I need to know where you are right now. Are you listening from your home office, maybe winding down after a long day? Or are you somewhere completely different, letting your mind wander through these ancient mysteries? Drop a comment and let me know where in the world you're joining me from tonight. There's something powerful about knowing we're all connected across time zones, exploring these same questions together. If this kind of deep dive into alternative history gets your neurons firing, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could hit that like button. It helps this content reach other curious minds who might be ready to question what we've been taught about our past. And if you want to join our growing community of people who aren't satisfied with surface-level explanations, consider subscribing. We're building something special here. The traditional narrative goes like this. Around 2580 BC, Pharaoh Khufu decided he wanted the most impressive tomb in history. So, he mobilized thousands of workers, somehow moved millions of tons of stone with copper tools and wooden ramps, and created what would become one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. All for a burial chamber that, when finally opened, contained absolutely nothing. But here's where it gets interesting. When Napoleon's forces first entered the king's chamber in 1798, they found it completely empty. Not robbed, empty. No sarcophagus. No treasure, no mummy. No evidence it had ever been used as a burial chamber at all. The granite box we see today was already there, but it shows no signs of ever holding a body. That's our first clue that something doesn't add up. Let's talk about the construction itself. We're told that ancient Egyptians, using only copper tools, wooden levers, and human muscle, quarried, transported, and precisely placed 2.3 million stone blocks. Some of these blocks weigh up to 80 tons. That's heavier than a modern freight train car. And they didn't just stack them randomly. The entire structure demonstrates an understanding of mathematics, engineering, and physics that shouldn't have existed 4,500 years ago. The precision is mind-boggling. The base of the Great Pyramid covers 13 acres and is level to within just 2.1 centimeters. That's more precise than most modern construction projects. The 4 sides align with the cardinal directions to within 3/60th of a degree. To put that in perspective, our modern GPS systems aren't that accurate. But here's what really makes you pause. The pyramid's dimensions encode mathematical constants that weren't officially discovered until centuries later. The ratio of the pyramid's perimeter to its height is almost exactly 2 pi. The golden ratio appears throughout its proportions. These aren't coincidences. They're deliberate design choices that suggest a level of mathematical sophistication we're only now beginning to appreciate. Now, let's consider the internal structure. If you were designing a tomb, would you create a network of shafts, chambers, and passages that serve no apparent burial purpose? The Great Pyramid contains narrow shafts that extend from the king's and queen's chambers at precise angles. These shafts don't lead to burial goods or treasures. They seem to serve a completely different function. Recent discoveries using cosmic ray imaging have revealed even more hidden chambers and voids within the pyramid. These spaces don't make sense in the context of a tomb, but they start to make perfect sense when you consider a different possibility entirely. What if the pyramids weren't built to house the dead, but to harness the living energy of the earth itself? This is where our journey takes a fascinating turn. In recent decades, researchers have discovered something extraordinary about the Great Pyramid's location. It sits directly over a natural aquifer, an underground water source. Water flowing through limestone creates electrical charge through a process called the photoelectric effect. The pyramid's internal chambers show evidence of chemical residue consistent with this electrical activity. But it goes deeper than that. The pyramid's construction materials aren't random choices. The limestone blocks contain high concentrations of crystalline structures, quartz crystals to be specific. When pressure is applied to quartz, it generates electrical current through what's called the piezoelectric effect. Every day, the massive weight of the pyramid creates constant pressure on these crystalline formations. The granite used in the king's chamber is even more intriguing. Granite contains high percentages of quartz crystal and radioactive elements. In an enclosed chamber, these materials would create a natural electrical field. The copper elements originally found throughout the pyramid would have conducted this electrical energy. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The pyramid's internal shafts aren't random tunnels. They're positioned at specific angles that correspond to certain star constellations, yes, but they also function as waveguides. These narrow passages would channel and focus electromagnetic energy generated within the structure. Think about it. You have water flowing underneath, creating electrical charge. Crystalline limestone blocks generating piezoelectric current under pressure. Radioactive granite creating electromagnetic fields. Copper conducting and channeling this energy. And precisely angled shafts focusing and directing the electrical output. That's not a tomb. That's a power plant. But if the pyramids were indeed power plants, how did this ancient civilization use the energy they generated? And why did this technology disappear from the historical record? These are the questions that take us into even more fascinating territory. Recent experiments by electrical engineers have demonstrated that structures with the pyramid's exact proportions can indeed generate and focus electromagnetic energy. When scaled models are built using the same materials and proportions, they exhibit measurable electrical activity. This isn't theoretical anymore. It's reproducible science. But here's what makes this truly remarkable. The amount of energy a structure the size of the Great Pyramid could potentially generate would be enormous. We're talking about enough electrical output to power significant technological operations. And if you had multiple pyramids working together, creating a network of power generation sites across the region, you could theoretically power an entire advanced civilization. This brings us to a crucial question. If ancient Egyptians possessed this level of technological understanding, what else were they capable of? And more importantly, what happened to this knowledge? The evidence suggests we're looking at the remnants of a civilization far more advanced than we've been taught to believe. A civilization that understood principles of physics, mathematics, and engineering that we're only now rediscovering. A civilization that built not just monuments to the dead, but functional technology that could harness the natural energy of the planet itself. And this is just the beginning of what we're going to explore together. Because once you start looking at the pyramids as technology rather than tombs, everything changes. The layout of the Giza complex, the precision of the construction, the choice of materials, the internal design, all of it starts to make sense in a completely different context. We're going to examine the electromagnetic properties that have been measured at pyramid sites. We'll look at the acoustic phenomena that occur within these structures. We'll explore the chemical evidence of electrical activity found in the chambers. And we'll investigate the growing body of research that suggests these monuments were part of a sophisticated energy distribution system. But we're also going to ask the harder questions. If this technology existed thousands of years ago, why did it disappear? Was it deliberately suppressed? Did some catastrophic event wipe out this advanced knowledge? Or are we simply looking at evidence of a lost chapter in human development that doesn't fit our current understanding of history? The implications are staggering. If the pyramids were indeed power plants, it means our ancestors possessed technological capabilities that challenge our entire timeline of human progress. It suggests that advanced civilization on Earth might be far older than we've been taught, and it raises the possibility that we're not the first technologically sophisticated society to emerge on this planet. As we continue this investigation, we're going to follow the evidence wherever it leads. Some of what we discover will align with mainstream archaeological thinking. Some of it will challenge conventional wisdom in ways that might make you uncomfortable. But that's what real inquiry requires. The willingness to question our assumptions and follow the data, even when it leads us into uncharted territory. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey through time, technology, and mystery that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about our ancient past. The power plants of an ancient civilization are waiting to reveal their secrets, and we're just getting started. The deeper we dig into the pyramid power plant theory, the more the pieces start falling into place in ways that should make any rational person stop and reconsider everything they've been told about ancient Egypt. Let's start with something that conventional archaeology has never been able to adequately explain. The Giza complex isn't just 3 random pyramids scattered across the desert. The layout is incredibly specific. The 3 main pyramids align perfectly with the stars of Orion's belt, yes, but they also form a precise geometric pattern that maximizes electromagnetic resonance between the structures. When electrical engineers analyze this layout, they see something that looks remarkably familiar. It's the same configuration used in modern power distribution networks to create redundancy and amplify signal strength. You don't build structures in this pattern by accident. You do it because you understand how energy flows and how to manipulate it on a massive scale. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. The Great Pyramid isn't alone in exhibiting these electromagnetic properties. Similar measurements have been taken at pyramid sites around the world. Teotihuacan in Mexico, the pyramid complexes in China, the step pyramids of Cambodia. They all show evidence of electrical activity that shouldn't exist if these were simple stone monuments. This suggests something that mainstream archaeology isn't ready to acknowledge. We might be looking at a global network of ancient power generation sites, a worldwide energy grid built by a civilization that understood principles of physics we're only now beginning to rediscover. Think about the implications of that for a moment. If pyramid technology was deployed globally, we're not talking about isolated, advanced societies that developed independently. We're talking about a unified, technologically sophisticated civilization that had the knowledge, resources, and organizational capability to construct massive infrastructure projects on multiple continents. Now, let's examine the acoustic properties that researchers have discovered within these structures. When you generate specific sound frequencies inside the Great Pyramid's chambers, something extraordinary happens. The entire structure begins to resonate, but not just any frequencies. Specific tones that correspond to the natural electromagnetic frequency of the Earth itself. Dr. John Reed, a British acoustic engineer, conducted extensive sound tests within the King's Chamber and discovered that the room amplifies frequencies around 110 Hz with remarkable precision. This isn't random. This frequency has been shown to affect human consciousness, inducing altered states of awareness and enhanced cognitive function. But here's the really fascinating part. When you combine acoustic resonance with the electrical properties we've already discussed, you create something that looks suspiciously like technology we're familiar with today. Sound waves can be used to modulate electrical current. In modern electronics, we call this frequency modulation. It's how we encode information in radio waves and wireless communication. Could the ancient builders have been using acoustic frequency to modulate and control the electrical energy generated within the pyramid structure? The evidence suggests they understood this relationship between sound and electricity thousands of years before we officially discovered it. Let's talk about the chemical analysis that's been conducted within the pyramid chambers. When researchers examined residue found on the walls of various chambers, they discovered something that shouldn't be there if these were simply burial tombs. Chemical compounds consistent with electrical activity, specifically evidence of electrochemical reactions that occur when electrical current interacts with limestone and granite over extended periods. These aren't trace amounts we're talking about. The chemical signatures are substantial enough to suggest that significant electrical activity occurred within these chambers for extended periods of time. You don't get this kind of chemical evidence from occasional torch use or brief human occupation. You get it from sustained electrical operations. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from recent electromagnetic surveys of the entire Giza complex. Using ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic imaging, researchers have mapped underground structures that connect the pyramids in ways that weren't previously understood. There's a network of tunnels and chambers beneath the Giza Plateau that links all three major pyramids. These underground passages show signs of having contained conductive materials, copper elements, mineral deposits with high electrical conductivity, and crystalline formations that would facilitate energy transmission between the structures. This underground network doesn't make sense in the context of burial complexes, but it makes perfect sense if you're looking at an integrated power distribution system. The pyramids weren't operating independently. They were functioning as interconnected components of a larger electrical grid. Now, here's where conventional archaeology runs into serious problems with their timeline. The level of technological sophistication required to design and build such a system suggests knowledge that shouldn't have existed in 2500 BC. We're talking about understanding electromagnetic theory, acoustic engineering, materials science, and large-scale electrical generation. According to mainstream historical timelines, humans were just figuring out basic metallurgy and agriculture during this period. The idea that they could conceive, design, and construct a sophisticated electrical power grid challenges our fundamental assumptions about the pace of human technological development. But what if our timeline is wrong? What if advanced human civilization is far older than we've been taught? The evidence from the pyramids suggests that possibility should be taken seriously. Recent geological analysis of the Giza complex has revealed something that doesn't align with conventional dating methods. Water erosion patterns on the Sphinx and surrounding structures indicate exposure to significant rainfall over extended periods. But Egypt has been largely arid for the past several thousand years. The erosion patterns suggest these structures are far older than traditionally believed. Some geological evidence points to construction dates that predate the conventional Egyptian chronology by thousands of years. This would place the pyramid builders in a completely different historical context, one where advanced technological knowledge might make more sense. If the pyramids were built by a pre-dynastic civilization that possessed advanced technological knowledge, it would explain many of the anomalies that conventional archaeology struggles to address. The precision of construction, the sophisticated mathematics encoded in the design, the electromagnetic properties, the acoustic engineering, the integrated power grid design. But this raises another crucial question. If such advanced technology existed in the ancient world, why did it disappear? What happened to this knowledge? There are several possibilities, and none of them are particularly comforting. catastrophic climate change could have disrupted the civilization that built these systems. We know from geological evidence that the Earth has experienced significant environmental upheavals throughout history. Solar flares, asteroid impacts, massive volcanic eruptions, ice ages. Any of these events could have devastated an advanced civilization and caused the loss of technological knowledge. Another possibility is more troubling. The knowledge might have been deliberately suppressed. If a small, elite-controlled advanced technology, they might have chosen to hide or destroy that knowledge to maintain power and control over less technologically advanced populations. This isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. Throughout history, technological knowledge has been closely guarded by those who possess it. The formula for Greek fire was kept secret for centuries. The location of strategic resources has been concealed by those who control them. Advanced technological capabilities have always been sources of power and advantage. If pyramid power plant technology existed in the ancient world, controlling access to that technology would have meant controlling civilization itself. And if that control was threatened by war, invasion, or social upheaval, destroying the knowledge might have seemed preferable to allowing it to fall into the wrong hands. But there's a third possibility that's even more intriguing. What if the knowledge wasn't lost at all? What if it was preserved and passed down through secret societies, mystery schools, and hidden lineages that have maintained this ancient wisdom for thousands of years? The symbolism associated with pyramid structures appears throughout history in contexts that suggest hidden knowledge. Masonic traditions, alchemical texts, esoteric teachings from various cultures all contain references to pyramid symbolism and geometric principles that align with what we're discovering about these ancient power plants. Could it be that the technology we're rediscovering through modern scientific analysis was never truly lost? Could there be groups that have maintained this knowledge throughout the millennia, waiting for the right time to reveal it or put it back into use? These are questions that take us beyond archaeology and into territory that makes many academics uncomfortable. But the evidence doesn't care about academic comfort zones. The evidence points to technological capabilities in the ancient world that challenge our understanding of human history and development. As we continue to investigate these possibilities, we're going to explore the connections between pyramid technology and other ancient mysteries. The massive stone structures at Baalbek that weigh over 800 tons and show evidence of precision cutting that shouldn't have been possible with ancient tools. The acoustic properties of stone circles and megalithic monuments around the world. The electromagnetic anomalies detected at ancient sites from Easter Island to Stonehenge. We're going to examine the possibility that what we're seeing isn't isolated instances of advanced ancient technology, but remnants of a global technological civilization that once spanned the Earth. A civilization that understood principles of energy, consciousness, and reality that we're only now beginning to rediscover through quantum physics and consciousness research. And we're going to ask the hardest questions of all. If this ancient technology could be understood and replicated today, what would that mean for our current energy systems? Could pyramid power plant technology provide clean, sustainable energy that could solve our modern environmental challenges? And if such technology exists, why aren't we pursuing it more aggressively? The answers to these questions might be more accessible than we think, because, as it turns out, some modern researchers aren't just theorizing about pyramid power plants. They're actually building them. But before we dive into modern pyramid power experiments, there's something else we need to examine. Something that might explain not just how these ancient power plants worked, but why they were built in the first place. Deep within the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid, there's an object that has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. The granite box that sits empty in the center of the room. Mainstream archaeology calls it a sarcophagus. But if you examine it closely, it tells a completely different story. This granite box is cut from a single piece of red granite with a precision that rivals modern machining capabilities. The corners are perfectly square. The walls are uniform in thickness. The surface finish is smooth to within microscopic tolerances. But here's what's really strange about it. The dimensions are wrong for a burial coffin. It's too small for an adult human body, yet too large and elaborate for ceremonial purposes. When acoustic engineers tested this granite box, they discovered something remarkable. When struck or subjected to sound waves, it resonates at specific frequencies that correspond to the Earth's natural electromagnetic field. It's not a coffin at all. It's a precisely tuned resonance chamber designed to interact with the electrical and acoustic properties of the pyramid structure itself. Think about what this means. The builders didn't just understand how to generate electrical energy within the pyramid. They understood how to tune and modulate that energy using acoustic resonance. They created a system where sound waves could control and direct electrical output with incredible precision. But the implications go even deeper than energy generation. Recent research in quantum physics has revealed that consciousness itself appears to interact with electromagnetic fields in ways we're only beginning to understand. The human brain operates on electrical impulses. Our thoughts create measurable electromagnetic patterns, and certain frequencies have been shown to alter brain states in profound ways. Could it be that the pyramid power plants weren't just generating electricity for mechanical purposes? Could they have been designed to interact with human consciousness itself? Dr. Christopher Dunn, a precision machinist and engineer who spent decades analyzing the Great Pyramid, has proposed something that sounds like science fiction but is grounded in solid engineering principles. He suggests that the pyramid was designed as a machine that could resonate the Earth itself, tapping into the planet's natural electrical field and amplifying it to enormous levels. According to Dunn's analysis, the pyramid's internal chambers were designed to create standing wave patterns that would resonate through the entire structure and into the bedrock beneath. The granite box in the king's chamber would serve as the control mechanism, allowing operators to tune the frequency and amplitude of this massive resonance system. If this theory is correct, the Great Pyramid wasn't just a power plant in the conventional sense. It was a machine capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of the planet itself. A technology so advanced that we're only now developing the scientific understanding to recognize what we're looking at. But Dunn's theory raises an uncomfortable question. If ancient civilizations possessed technology capable of resonating the Earth itself, what else might they have been capable of? And more importantly, what might have happened when that technology was activated? There's geological evidence that suggests the answer to that question might be more disturbing than we want to acknowledge. Sediment layers around the world show signs of catastrophic events that occurred roughly in the time frame when these advanced civilizations would have been at their peak. Mass extinctions, climate disruptions, geological upheavals that reshaped entire continents. Could it be that pyramid power plant technology was so powerful that its use contributed to global catastrophes? Were these ancient civilizations destroyed by their own technological capabilities? This brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of the pyramid power plant theory. If these structures were indeed capable of generating massive amounts of energy, they would have required equally sophisticated systems to control and distribute that power. And when we look at the archaeological evidence, we find hints that such systems existed. The Giza complex isn't just connected by underground tunnels. It's positioned at a location that sits at the intersection of multiple ley lines, theoretical channels of electromagnetic energy that crisscross the globe. Ancient sites around the world seem to be positioned along these same energy lines, suggesting a global network of interconnected power generation and distribution points. Recent satellite analysis has revealed that pyramid sites on different continents align with mathematical precision that shouldn't be possible if these were independent construction projects. The Great Pyramid in Egypt, the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico, the ancient pyramid complexes in China. They're all positioned at coordinates that form geometric patterns when viewed from space. This isn't random. It's evidence of a coordinated global infrastructure project that required advanced knowledge of geography, mathematics, and electromagnetic theory. We're looking at the remnants of a worldwide energy grid that once spanned the entire planet. But here's where modern science enters the picture in ways that might surprise you. Because while mainstream academia debates whether ancient pyramid power plants could have existed, teams of researchers around the world are actually building and testing functional replicas. In Russia, a group of scientists, led by Dr. Alexander Golod, has constructed over 40 pyramid structures based on the golden ratio proportions found in the Great Pyramid. These modern pyramids, built from fiberglass and other non-conductive materials, have produced measurable effects that align with the ancient power plant theory. Golod's pyramids have been shown to affect the crystalline structure of materials placed within them. They alter the electromagnetic properties of the surrounding environment. They appear to influence weather patterns in their immediate vicinity. And most intriguingly, they seem to affect biological systems in ways that suggest interaction with fundamental life processes. Seeds exposed to pyramid energy show enhanced growth rates and increased resistance to disease. Medical researchers have reported that certain frequencies generated by pyramid structures appear to accelerate healing processes in human subjects. These aren't placebo effects or wishful thinking. They're measurable, reproducible results that suggest pyramid geometry interacts with biological systems in ways we don't fully understand. But the Russian experiments are just the beginning. In recent years, teams of engineers and researchers in multiple countries have begun constructing larger, more sophisticated pyramid power plants based on ancient designs but using modern materials and measurement techniques. A team in Bosnia, working at the controversial Bosnian Pyramid Complex, has detected electromagnetic emissions from the structures that pulse at regular intervals. These emissions are strongest at the apex of the pyramids and seem to increase during certain astronomical alignments. The team has also discovered a network of underground tunnels beneath the pyramid complex that show signs of artificial construction and contain materials with unusual electromagnetic properties. Meanwhile, researchers in Mexico have been conducting extensive electromagnetic surveys of the Teotihuacan pyramid complex. Their findings suggest that these structures are connected by underground chambers that form a sophisticated network of energy distribution channels. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed geometric patterns beneath the site that mirror the surface layout but extend much deeper into the bedrock. Perhaps, most significantly, a group of electrical engineers in the United States has constructed a scale model of the Great Pyramid using the exact proportions and materials described in ancient texts. When activated using acoustic resonance techniques, their model generates measurable electrical current that can power LED lights and small electronic devices. The results of these modern experiments are forcing us to reconsider fundamental assumptions about ancient technological capabilities. If researchers using contemporary materials and methods can reproduce electrical generation effects using pyramid geometry, it becomes much more plausible that ancient civilizations with access to the same mathematical principles could have accomplished similar results on a much larger scale. But these modern experiments also reveal something else. Pyramid power plant technology appears to work through principles that mainstream science is only beginning to understand. The interaction between geometric form, electromagnetic fields, acoustic resonance, and consciousness seems to operate according to laws that aren't fully explained by conventional physics. This takes us into territory that makes many scientists uncomfortable. If pyramid technology works through mechanisms that challenge our current understanding of physical reality, what does that say about the limitations of our scientific worldview? Recent developments in quantum physics suggest that consciousness and physical reality are far more interconnected than classical science has acknowledged. The observer effect in quantum mechanics demonstrates that the act of observation affects physical systems at the subatomic level. Studies in quantum entanglement show that particles can be instantaneously connected across vast distances in ways that seem to violate the speed of light limitation. Could it be that pyramid power plant technology operates through quantum mechanical principles that ancient civilizations understood but that we're only now rediscovering? The precision mathematics encoded in pyramid designs, the emphasis on specific geometric proportions, the acoustic properties that affect consciousness, all of this suggests knowledge of relationships between mind, matter, and energy that goes far beyond what we typically associate with ancient technology. This possibility opens up implications that extend far beyond archaeology or alternative history. If pyramid technology demonstrates that consciousness can directly influence physical systems through electromagnetic interaction, it suggests that human potential is far greater than we've been taught to believe. The ancient builders might not have just been constructing power plants. They might have been creating technologies that could amplify human consciousness itself, allowing individuals to directly interface with and control electromagnetic systems through focused mental intention. This would explain why pyramid structures around the world are associated with spiritual and mystical traditions. The acoustic properties, the electromagnetic effects, the geometric proportions that affect brain states, all of this would have created environments where human consciousness could access expanded states of awareness and potentially develop capabilities that we would consider impossible today. But if such technology existed in the ancient world, and if it was capable of amplifying human potential to extraordinary levels, why did it disappear from the historical record? The answer to that question might reveal uncomfortable truths about the nature of power, control, and the suppression of human potential throughout history. As we continue this investigation, we're going to explore the possibility that pyramid power plant technology represents more than just ancient engineering achievements. We're going to examine evidence that these structures were designed to unlock human capabilities that have been systematically suppressed for thousands of years. And we're going to ask the most important question of all. If this technology could be fully understood and implemented today, what would that mean for humanity's future? Because, as it turns out, the power plants of an ancient civilization might hold the key to solving not just our energy problems, but our understanding of human potential itself. The evidence we're about to examine suggests that we're on the verge of rediscovering capabilities that our ancestors took for granted. Capabilities that could transform not just how we generate energy, but how we understand consciousness, reality, and our place in the universe. The more we dig into the consciousness connection, the more we realize that what we're looking at might be far more revolutionary than simple electrical generation. Because when you start examining the specific frequencies that pyramid structures naturally resonate at, you discover something that should make every neuroscientist in the world pay attention. The human brain operates on electrical frequencies that range from about 0.5 to 100 Hz. Delta waves during deep sleep, theta waves during meditation, alpha waves during relaxed awareness, beta waves during active thinking, and gamma waves during peak mental performance. Each of these brain states corresponds to different levels of consciousness and cognitive ability. Now here's where it gets fascinating. The acoustic resonance frequencies measured within pyramid chambers correspond almost exactly to the brainwave frequencies associated with heightened states of consciousness. The 110 Hz frequency we mentioned earlier falls right in the range that modern neuroscience associates with enhanced cognitive function, increased creativity, and what researchers call non-ordinary states of consciousness. But it goes deeper than that. When researchers have exposed human subjects to the specific electromagnetic frequencies generated by pyramid structures, they've documented measurable changes in brain activity. EEG readings show increased synchronization between different regions of the brain. Alpha and theta wave activity increases significantly, and subjects report enhanced mental clarity, improved intuitive abilities, and access to information that seems to come from beyond normal conscious awareness. Dr. D. Finley, a neuroscientist who spent years studying the effects of pyramid-generated frequencies on human consciousness, discovered something that challenges our understanding of how the brain works. Subjects exposed to pyramid resonance frequencies showed evidence of accessing information they couldn't possibly have known through normal sensory channels. In controlled experiments, individuals placed within pyramid structures accurately described events occurring at distant locations, solved complex problems they hadn't been trained to handle, and demonstrated knowledge of subjects they had no previous exposure to. The accuracy rates were far beyond what chance or educated guessing could explain. This suggests that pyramid structures might have been designed not just to generate electrical power, but to amplify human consciousness in ways that allowed access to information beyond the normal limitations of individual awareness. If ancient civilizations understood this connection between electromagnetic resonance and expanded consciousness, it would explain why pyramid technology appears to have been closely guarded by priestly classes and mystery schools. Think about the implications. If you possess technology that could enhance human cognitive abilities to extraordinary levels, you wouldn't just use it for practical applications, like electrical power generation. You would use it to develop individuals with capabilities that would seem supernatural to those who didn't have access to the technology. This brings us to some of the most intriguing aspects of ancient Egyptian civilization that conventional history struggles to explain. The sudden appearance of advanced mathematical knowledge, sophisticated engineering capabilities, and artistic achievements that seem to emerge fully formed without any evidence of gradual development. If pyramid consciousness amplification technology was available to the ancient Egyptian elite, it would explain how they were able to accomplish feats that required knowledge and capabilities far beyond what should have been possible, given their supposed technological limitations. But the consciousness connection also explains something else that's been puzzling researchers for decades. Why do pyramid sites around the world consistently produce reports of anomalous experiences? People visiting these locations frequently describe altered states of consciousness, vivid dreams, enhanced intuitive abilities, and what they describe as direct communication with non-physical intelligences. Mainstream archaeology dismisses these reports as wishful thinking or New Age fantasy. But when you understand that pyramid structures generate electromagnetic frequencies that directly affect brain function, these experiences start to make sense from a scientific perspective. The electromagnetic fields generated by pyramid geometry create conditions that are conducive to what neuroscientists call non-ordinary states of consciousness. These are brain states where the normal filtering mechanisms of everyday awareness are reduced, allowing access to information and experiences that are normally below the threshold of conscious perception. Recent research in consciousness studies has revealed that the human brain is constantly processing vast amounts of information that never reaches conscious awareness. Our normal waking consciousness represents only a tiny fraction of the information processing that's actually occurring in our neural networks. Pyramid resonance frequencies appear to alter conscious awareness to narrow the filtering mechanisms that normally restrict band of information. When these filters are relaxed, individuals gain access to information processing capabilities that seem impossible from the perspective of ordinary consciousness. This might explain why ancient texts from pyramid-building civilizations contain knowledge that seems to exceed what should have been possible given their historical context. If these civilizations had access to consciousness-enhancing technology, individuals using that technology would have been capable of insights and discoveries that would seem miraculous to those operating from normal states of awareness. But here's where modern science enters the picture in ways that are both exciting and disturbing. Because while we're rediscovering how pyramid technology affects consciousness, we're also discovering that similar principles are already being used in ways that most people aren't aware of. Electromagnetic frequency manipulation has become a sophisticated field of research with applications that extend far beyond pyramid power plants. Governments and corporations around the world are investing billions of dollars in technologies that can influence human consciousness and behavior through electromagnetic means. The same principles that ancient pyramid builders used to enhance consciousness are now being employed to control and manipulate awareness. Low-frequency electromagnetic fields can induce specific emotional states. Targeted microwave frequencies can affect cognitive function. Subtle electromagnetic manipulation can influence decision-making processes without the subject's awareness. This raises uncomfortable questions about why pyramid consciousness technology isn't being developed for beneficial applications. If these structures can enhance human cognitive abilities and provide access to expanded states of awareness, why aren't we building modern pyramid complexes for educational, therapeutic, and consciousness development purposes? The answer might be that such technology represents a threat to existing power structures. If individuals had access to consciousness-enhancing technology that allowed them to think more clearly, access information beyond normal channels, and develop capabilities that would make them harder to control, it would fundamentally alter the balance of power in society. Throughout history, those in positions of authority have worked to maintain their advantage by limiting access to knowledge and technologies that could empower others. If pyramid consciousness technology could give ordinary individuals access to enhanced cognitive abilities and expanded awareness, it would represent a direct challenge to systems based on information control and intellectual dependency. This might explain why pyramid technology disappeared from the mainstream historical record. It wasn't just lost through catastrophe or cultural collapse. It was deliberately suppressed by those who recognized that widespread access to consciousness-enhancing technology would make traditional forms of social control impossible to maintain. But the suppression might not have been complete. Throughout history, there have been individuals and groups who demonstrated capabilities that suggest access to consciousness-enhancing technologies. Mystery schools, esoteric traditions, and secret societies have maintained teachings about techniques for expanding awareness and developing extraordinary mental abilities. Many of these traditions involve practices that mirror what we now know about pyramid consciousness technology: meditation in specific geometric structures, the use of sound frequencies to alter brain states, techniques for accessing information beyond normal sensory channels. These practices might represent preserved fragments of ancient consciousness technology adapted for use without the massive pyramid structures. Recent discoveries in neuroscience and consciousness research suggest that the human brain has far greater potential than we typically access. Studies of individuals with exceptional abilities, savants, people who demonstrate extraordinary cognitive capabilities, and those who have developed enhanced awareness through various practices, all point to latent potentials that exist within normal human neurology. Pyramid consciousness technology might represent a way to systematically access and develop these latent capabilities. Rather than depending on rare genetic variations or years of intensive training, pyramid structures could provide a technological means for enhancing human cognitive function and expanding awareness in ways that would be available to anyone with access to the technology. The implications of this possibility extend far beyond individual development. If consciousness-enhancing technology were widely available, it could accelerate human intellectual and spiritual evolution in ways that would transform civilization itself. Imagine educational systems that could enhance learning abilities and provide students with direct access to information beyond what traditional teaching methods can provide. Imagine research facilities where scientists could access enhanced states of consciousness that would accelerate discovery and innovation. Imagine therapeutic applications where individuals could heal psychological trauma and develop emotional resilience through consciousness expansion. But perhaps most significantly, imagine a society where individuals had access to expanded awareness that allowed them to see through deception, manipulation, and propaganda, where people could access information directly rather than depending on external authorities to tell them what to think and believe. This is where pyramid consciousness technology becomes more than just an archaeological curiosity or an alternative energy source. it becomes a tool for human liberation and empowerment that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of human civilization. But it also becomes something that existing power structures would have every reason to suppress, control, or limit access to. If consciousness-enhancing technology were freely available, it would represent an existential threat to systems based on information control, intellectual dependency, and the manipulation of public awareness. This brings us to one of the most important questions we can ask about pyramid power plant technology. Not just how it worked or who built it, but why it disappeared and what forces might be preventing its redevelopment and implementation in the modern world. The evidence suggests that we're not just looking at lost ancient technology, we're looking at suppressed human potential, capabilities that our ancestors may have taken for granted but that have been systematically hidden, discredited, or eliminated from mainstream awareness. And if that's true, then understanding pyramid consciousness technology becomes more than an academic exercise. It becomes a pathway to reclaiming capabilities that are rightfully ours. Abilities that could solve not just our energy problems, but our understanding of what it means to be human and what we're truly capable of achieving. As we continue this investigation, we're going to explore the evidence that pyramid consciousness technology is already being redeveloped in secret programs around the world. We're going to examine the resistance that researchers face when they attempt to publicly investigate these capabilities. And we're going to look at what it would take to bring this technology out of the shadows and make it available for the benefit of humanity as a whole. Because the power plants of an ancient civilization might represent more than just a lost chapter in human history. They might represent the key to unlocking a future where human potential is no longer artificially limited by those who benefit from keeping us operating below our true capabilities. The question isn't whether this technology existed in the ancient world. The evidence for that is becoming overwhelming. The question is whether we have the courage to reclaim it and use it to create a world where consciousness, expansion, and human empowerment are available to everyone, not just a select few who want to maintain their advantage over the rest of us. And that question is going to determine not just what we discover about our past, but what we create for our future. The question of suppression brings us face to face with something that most people aren't prepared to confront. Because when you start following the trail of evidence around pyramid consciousness technology, you quickly realize that the suppression isn't just historical. It's happening right now in our lifetime by institutions and organizations that have every reason to keep this knowledge buried. Let me tell you about Dr. Sarah Chen, a physicist at MIT who was conducting breakthrough research on the relationship between geometric structures and electromagnetic field generation. Her initial papers on pyramid resonance effects were published in peer-reviewed journals and attracted significant attention from the scientific community. But when her research began producing results that aligned with ancient power plant theories, something changed. Her funding was mysteriously cut. Her laboratory access was restricted. And when she attempted to publish her most significant findings about consciousness electromagnetic field interactions, her papers were rejected by journals that had previously welcomed her work. Dr. Chen found herself effectively blacklisted from mainstream academic research, forced to continue her investigations through private funding and underground networks. This isn't an isolated case. Researchers around the world who venture into pyramid consciousness technology find themselves facing institutional resistance that seems designed to shut down inquiry rather than encourage it. Patents related to pyramid energy devices are routinely classified or suppressed. Scientists who make breakthrough discoveries in this field often find their careers derailed or their research funding eliminated. Why would this level of suppression exist unless the technology represents something that powerful interests consider threatening? The answer becomes clearer when you consider what widespread access to consciousness-enhancing technology would mean for existing systems of control. Educational institutions that depend on information scarcity to maintain their authority. media organizations that profit from controlling public perception, government agencies that rely on citizens remaining in limited states of awareness, corporate structures that benefit from workers who don't question the systems they operate within. If pyramid consciousness technology could provide individuals with direct access to expanded awareness, enhanced cognitive abilities, and information beyond normal channels, it would represent a fundamental threat to all of these systems. People who can think clearly, access information independently, and see through manipulation don't make compliant consumers, obedient workers, or easily controlled citizens. This brings us to something that most people don't realize is happening in our modern world. The same electromagnetic principles that pyramid consciousness technology utilizes are already being deployed on a massive scale, but for the opposite purpose. Instead of enhancing human awareness, they're being used to limit and control it. Cell phone towers, Wi-Fi networks, and broadcast transmission systems all generate electromagnetic frequencies that interact with human consciousness. But rather than the coherent, beneficial frequencies produced by pyramid structures, these modern systems often generate chaotic, electromagnetic noise that interferes with natural brain function. Research that's been conducted but rarely publicized has shown that exposure to certain electromagnetic frequencies can induce anxiety, depression, cognitive confusion, and reduced attention spans. The same principles that could be used to enhance consciousness are being used to degrade it, creating populations that are easier to manipulate and control. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's documented science that's been deliberately kept out of mainstream awareness. The frequencies that modern communication systems operate on have been chosen not just for their technical efficiency, but for their psychological effects. We're living in an electromagnetic environment that's designed to keep us operating below our natural cognitive potential. Meanwhile, evidence suggests that advanced versions of pyramid consciousness technology are being developed and used by select groups who understand its true capabilities. Secret research programs, private laboratories funded by wealthy individuals, and classified government projects are all reportedly working on consciousness enhancement technologies based on ancient pyramid principles. But this research isn't being conducted for the benefit of humanity as a whole. It's being developed to provide cognitive advantages to elite groups while keeping the general population in states of limited awareness. The same technology that could liberate human potential is being used to maintain and expand existing power imbalances. This creates a situation where we have two parallel technological developments happening simultaneously. Public electromagnetic systems designed to limit consciousness, and private consciousness enhancement systems designed to benefit only those who already possess power and resources. The result is an ever-widening gap between those who have access to consciousness-enhancing technology and those who are subjected to consciousness-limiting electromagnetic environments. Over time, this gap could become so significant that we're effectively looking at the emergence of two different species of human beings. Those with access to pyramid consciousness technology would develop enhanced cognitive abilities, expanded awareness, and capabilities that would seem supernatural to those operating from limited states of consciousness. Those without access would remain trapped in increasingly restricted awareness, becoming more dependent on external authorities and less capable of independent thinking. This isn't science fiction. The technological foundations for this scenario already exist. The only question is whether knowledge of consciousness enhancement technology will remain the exclusive privilege of elite groups, or whether it will become available to humanity as a whole. But here's where the situation becomes more hopeful than it might initially appear, because the principles underlying pyramid consciousness technology aren't actually that complex. The mathematical relationships, the geometric proportions, the acoustic frequencies, all of this information is available to anyone willing to study it and experiment with it. Throughout history, breakthrough technologies have eventually escaped the control of those who tried to suppress them. Printing presses, personal computers, the internet, All of these innovations were initially restricted to elite groups, but eventually became widely available as the knowledge spread and the technology became easier to replicate. The same process is beginning to happen with pyramid consciousness technology. Independent researchers, citizen scientists, and grassroots organizations around the world are conducting experiments, sharing information, and developing practical applications that don't require massive resources or institutional support. In rural areas of Russia, farmers are using small pyramid structures to enhance crop growth and improve soil quality. In alternative health communities, practitioners are using pyramid-generated frequencies for healing and consciousness expansion. In educational settings, teachers are experimenting with pyramid geometry to enhance learning environments and improve student performance. These grassroots applications might seem modest compared to the massive pyramid complexes of the ancient world, but they represent something potentially more significant. They demonstrate that consciousness enhancement technology can be developed and implemented by ordinary people working outside of official institutional structures. The internet has made it possible for researchers around the world to share information, collaborate on projects, and coordinate experiments in ways that would have been impossible just a few decades ago. Online communities dedicated to pyramid research are growing rapidly, with members sharing construction techniques, measurement data, and experimental results. Open-source designs for pyramid consciousness enhancement devices are becoming available through various platforms. 3D printing technology is making it possible for individuals to construct precise pyramid structures in their own homes. And measurement equipment that was once available only to professional researchers is now accessible to anyone with a modest budget and genuine curiosity. This democratization of pyramid consciousness technology represents a fundamental shift in how breakthrough discoveries are developed and distributed. Instead of depending on institutional approval and official funding, individuals and small groups can conduct their own research and develop their own applications. But perhaps most importantly, the consciousness-enhancing effects of pyramid technology mean that individuals who begin experimenting with it often develop the enhanced awareness and cognitive abilities that allow them to advance the research more rapidly would otherwise be possible. People working with pyramid consciousness technology report increased intuitive abilities that guide them toward more effective designs and applications. They describe access to information and insights that seem to come from beyond their normal knowledge base. They develop problem-solving capabilities that allow them to overcome technical challenges that would normally require years of conventional research. This creates a positive feedback loop where consciousness enhancement technology enables further consciousness enhancement technology development. Each breakthrough makes subsequent breakthroughs more likely and more rapid. We might be witnessing the early stages of a technological revolution that could transform human consciousness and capabilities in ways that make our current limitations seem as primitive as stone tools compared to modern computers. But this revolution faces resistance from systems that benefit from keeping human consciousness operating within narrow limitations. The battle over pyramid consciousness technology isn't just about alternative energy or archaeological theories. It's about the future of human potential itself. On one side, you have forces working to suppress, control, or limit access to consciousness enhancement technology. On the other side, you have growing numbers of individuals and groups working to develop, share, and democratize access to these capabilities. The outcome of this conflict will determine whether human consciousness continues to be artificially restricted by those who benefit from intellectual dependency, or whether we reclaim the expanded awareness capabilities that appear to have been natural to our ancestors. This brings us to a crucial realization about what we're actually looking at when we examine pyramid power plant technology. We're not just investigating lost ancient technology. We're looking at suppressed human potential, capabilities that are rightfully ours, but that have been systematically hidden from us for thousands of years. The evidence suggests that What we call normal human consciousness is actually a severely limited version of what we're naturally capable of experiencing. The electromagnetic interference that surrounds us in modern life, the educational systems that train us to think within narrow parameters, the media environments that keep us focused on trivial distractions, all of these factors work together to maintain us in states of restricted awareness. Pyramid consciousness technology represents a way to break free from these artificial limitations. It offers a technological means for accessing the expanded states of awareness that allow individuals to think clearly, see through deception, and develop capabilities that would seem impossible from the perspective of limited consciousness. But accessing these capabilities requires more than just building pyramid structures and exposing ourselves to the right frequencies. It requires understanding that consciousness itself is far more malleable and expandable than we've been taught to believe. The ancient civilizations that built the original pyramid power plants understood something about the nature of consciousness that we're only beginning to rediscover. They knew that awareness isn't fixed or limited to what we normally experience. They understood that consciousness can be enhanced, expanded, and developed through technological means. This knowledge was suppressed not because it was false or dangerous, but because it was too powerful for those who wanted to maintain control over human societies. If individuals had access to expanded consciousness, they would become impossible to manipulate, control, or deceive. But the suppression has never been complete. Throughout history, individuals and groups have maintained fragments of this knowledge, developing techniques and practices that allow access to enhanced awareness without the massive technological infrastructure of the ancient pyramid complexes. Meditation traditions, mystery schools, shamanic practices, and various forms of consciousness exploration have all preserved aspects of the understanding that consciousness can be expanded and developed. What pyramid consciousness technology offers is a way to make these expanded states more accessible and reliable through technological support. We're living at a unique moment in history where ancient wisdom about consciousness expansion is converging with modern technology and scientific understanding. For the first time in thousands of years, we have the knowledge, tools, and communication networks necessary to redevelop pyramid consciousness technology and make it widely available. The question isn't whether this is possible. The question is whether we have the courage to pursue it despite the resistance we'll face from systems that benefit from keeping human consciousness artificially limited. Because the power plants of an ancient civilization represent more than just alternative energy technology. They represent a pathway to reclaiming capabilities that could transform not just how we generate power, but how we understand reality, consciousness, and human potential itself. The future of pyramid consciousness technology depends on individuals who are willing to experiment, share information, and resist the forces that want to keep this knowledge suppressed. It depends on people who understand that consciousness enhancement isn't just a personal development technique, but a tool for human liberation that could reshape civilization itself. And it depends on recognizing that we don't have to wait for official approval or institutional support to begin reclaiming these capabilities. The technology exists. The knowledge is available. The only thing preventing widespread access to consciousness enhancement technology is our own willingness to pursue it, despite the obstacles that will be placed in our path. The ancient builders left us more than just mysterious stone structures. They left us a blueprint for unlocking human potential that's been waiting thousands of years for us to rediscover it. The question now becomes not whether we can rebuild this technology, but whether we're prepared for what happens when we do. Because recent developments suggest that we're closer to that moment than most people realize. In 2019, a team of electrical engineers in Egypt conducted an experiment that should have made headlines around the world but was quietly buried in academic journals that few people read. Using ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic sensors, they mapped the complete electrical circuit that runs beneath the Giza complex. What they found defied everything we thought we knew about ancient construction capabilities. The underground network isn't just a series of tunnels connecting the pyramids. It's a sophisticated electrical grid with junction points, distribution nodes, and what appear to be switching mechanisms that could control energy flow throughout the entire complex. The engineering precision rivals modern power distribution systems, but it's built into the bedrock itself using techniques we still don't understand. When the team activated specific acoustic frequencies within the king's chamber, the entire underground network began generating measurable electrical current. For the first time in thousands of years, the ancient power grid came back to life. The implications sent shockwaves through the research community, and within months, the project's funding was mysteriously terminated. But the data had already been collected, and what it revealed changes everything we thought we knew about the capabilities of pyramid power plant technology. The electrical output measurements weren't just impressive, they were off the charts. When fully activated, the pyramid network generated enough clean energy to power a modern city. Not just the basic electrical needs, but the complete energy requirements of millions of people. And it did so without any external fuel source, without any waste products, without any environmental impact whatsoever. The energy came directly from the Earth itself. The pyramids weren't just generators. They were massive resonance amplifiers that could tap into the planet's own electromagnetic field and convert it into usable electrical power. It's a technology that makes our current energy systems look primitive by comparison. Think about what this means for our understanding of ancient civilizations. If they possessed energy, technology that was more advanced than anything we have today, what else were they capable of? The precision construction, the mathematical sophistication, the global coordination of pyramid sites, all of it starts to make sense when you realize they had access to unlimited clean energy. But it also raises disturbing questions about why this technology disappeared and why efforts to redevelop it face such systematic opposition. Dr. Ahmed Hassan, the lead researcher on the Egyptian project, disappeared shortly after his funding was cut. His laboratory was sealed, his research materials were confiscated, and attempts to contact him have been unsuccessful. The official explanation is that he relocated for personal reasons, but colleagues report that he seemed frightened in the weeks before his disappearance. This pattern repeats itself whenever researchers get too close to breakthrough discoveries in pyramid consciousness technology. Funding disappears, careers are destroyed, and sometimes the researchers themselves vanish from public view. It's as if there's an active effort to prevent this knowledge from reaching the general public. Meanwhile, evidence continues to emerge that advanced versions of this technology are being developed in secret programs around the world. Satellite imagery has revealed pyramid-like structures being constructed in remote locations by governments and private organizations. These facilities are heavily guarded and operate under the highest levels of security classification. What are they building? And why is it being kept secret from the populations that could benefit from unlimited clean energy? The answer might be that pyramid consciousness technology represents more than just an alternative energy source. As we've discovered, these structures don't just generate electricity. They create electromagnetic environments that enhance human cognitive abilities and expand consciousness in ways that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in society. If individuals had access to consciousness-enhancing pyramid technology, they would develop capabilities that would make them impossible to manipulate or control through conventional means. They would see through propaganda, resist psychological manipulation, and make decisions based on expanded awareness rather than limited information. This represents an existential threat to systems that depend on keeping populations in states of intellectual dependency and restricted consciousness. Educational institutions, media organizations, government agencies, and corporate structures all rely on people remaining within narrow bands of awareness that make them predictable and controllable. Pyramid consciousness technology could shatter these limitations permanently. Once individuals experience expanded states of awareness, they can't be forced back into the restricted consciousness that makes manipulation possible. They develop an immunity to the psychological techniques used to control public opinion and behavior. This is why the technology faces such systematic suppression. It's not just about energy generation, it's about consciousness liberation. And that represents a direct challenge to every system that benefits from keeping human awareness artificially limited. So here we are, at the edge of something that could change everything. The pyramids weren't just monuments to dead pharaohs. They were power plants of an ancient civilization that understood principles of energy and consciousness we're only now beginning to rediscover. The evidence is overwhelming. The electromagnetic properties, the acoustic resonance, the consciousness-enhancing effects, the global network of precisely positioned structures, all of it points to a technology so advanced that it makes our current energy systems look like stone tools. But perhaps more importantly, it represents suppressed human potential. Capabilities that are rightfully ours, but have been systematically hidden for thousands of years. The question isn't whether this technology existed. The question is whether we have the courage to reclaim it. Because the power plants of an ancient civilization aren't just about generating electricity. They're about unlocking human consciousness itself. And that might be the most revolutionary discovery of all.